Right now. Highlight the importance of sonic heritage. Usually when we think of heritage, we think of buildings, pieces of art, objects. We don't often think about sounds, even language or particular melodies or modes that people would be singing. All of this is called intangible, as we cannot grab it, we can only perform it or experience it again and again. It therefore becomes intangible heritage. This project highlights the intangible heritage and tries to do that through the view of young creative minds who explore their surrounding, find, let's say, sounds of importance, and through that highlight values of our present environment but also our past and possibly our future.
I think the idea is that within Europe there is a great diversity in sound, and what they wanted to do was capture a place which is more closer to an ocean and more about fauna, and then somewhere which was medieval architecture, and then somewhere which is the modern city. With Creative Europe, that's very often one of their goals, is to bring together people from different parts of Europe to meet and then to create collectively. But they wanted people to archive the sounds, but then as a second layer of that, also to create artistically, because they are two separate things, and to bring them together is very important. Recording sounds, you never know how it's going to be useful. For instance, the lake that I mentioned, which by the time we'd arrived there in Alentejo, it had dried up, whereas in the previous years there had been water. People who had recorded the years before, they didn't actually know what that would happen. But it's just with this archive, it's a useful tool with hindsight. In Budapest there's really a lot of traffic. It's unbelievably loud, especially when you start listening. And so for us it's very difficult because we always want to isolate sounds or to find interesting elements. But then maybe if we just record the traffic in 20 years' time, that's very interesting for someone to know that there was traffic in all these different areas. We don't know.
Where the Spatial Sound Institute comes in this picture is, let's say it's not enough to just record sounds, and then what do you do with those sounds? If we talk about the existence of sounds in a larger context, so in the context of actual spaces, then we need to capture something more essential of the space itself, which is often not captured by the recording process. So spatial sound can be a way to, say, recapture and preserve that information that otherwise would get lost. So we don't only capture, let's say, the sound in terms of its material characteristics, let's say its frequencies and amplitudes, and then play it back, but we also capture how was that sound situated in space, how was its dimensionality, its relationality to other things in that environment, and most importantly towards the observer, towards the listener, so the experiencer of that cultural value. This is in a very nascent state to see how technology can be standardized and applied for this, so we're making some suggestions with this project of how that can be done.
4D sound works by only projecting virtual, like phantom points into that environment to recreate like a real acoustic environment, and you can within that environment do anything you want. This latest version of 4D sound, the particle movement is really magnificent. You can really take any static recording and turn it into something that sounds so organic. Sounds don't really have a defined shape, they are sort of shaped by their environment. The particle system sort of mimics this natural appearance of sound by combining different points in space to form a larger area of sound that has a symmetrical or an asymmetrical shape. And then you can use that shape to move the inner particles to create sort of vibrations, animations, but also real timbral changes in the sound itself in space, and that creates sort of the feeling that the sound is more than just a flying object. It's really like being created inside of the room. So it still follows one sound object, and then within that object you can have almost infinite complexity of sort of micro movements which make it feel alive and real, and speak to our perception.
This place has a very fast echo. It's sonar ether, so it picks up electromagnetic energy.
I hear the building there was an engine there, and the nature. I was just walking around and seeing where they would like find a balance, like if it would be music, where I would hear like all three of these in a nice manner.
It has like synthesizers, very manipulated like recordings.
Yeah.
And then Rosie suddenly was like, I need raw, like unprocessed field recording.
I think we're gonna have 3 parts.
No.
The first part is like more like a spatial sound. The second part is gonna be this raw situation. And the end, we're gonna
Flood the place.
Flood the place. Actually, when I listened to the piece in the morning, I was on the floor and like closed my eyes. I feel that it's like when the orchestra is tuning, before the concert. How about to have a silence after this kind of tuning thing, like in the concert hall? The conductor is entering into the space. The audience like realize that he's there or she's there, and suddenly it's gonna be silence. And then the second part is coming when the whole city is starting to pulsating. This is a piece. I mean, the orchestra piece.
Yeah.
The sound of the city.
I think first off we were just like throwing things against the wall and see what sticks. And you know, there's been moments when we realized, hey, that actually sounds like, for example, the spiraling of the synth. That's something done out of curiosity, and the system accepted it and gave us a good feeling, I think, and we just went with it. And the spiraling synth, for example, it never changed since then.
Yeah, and the first part, really the sound is what is moving. But the second part, we would like to encourage the audience to move in the space, you know, like because the sound, the signal will be like more static. The people should move.
Yeah, almost like a museum situation. The second part.
Yeah,
You can explore. You can really explore like static sound objects, which I really like. And the first one is more like this like spinning thing you get drawn into.
We start from like the field recordings and everything, but then let the piece and the space make also the composition.
Long recordings of drones.
So this is the Zilia recording, and it's put down in all the Omniwave speakers directly, but then we offset it slightly with animation so that you don't feel like it's coming out of speakers anymore. But the spatialization is really coming from the recording itself, so that's why they don't move so much, but you still really can hear the different walls and the different frequencies from different places. We start cutting it up into, for example, rhythmical patterns like this. And it becomes more musical already. What we are trying to achieve is to create this 3,000 years in the future, still not discovered ocean that is under the ground, and there we found relics of this time. So in order to do that, I want that ocean to feel real, and I want the feeling of underground to feel real. But then the context that it's in will be up to us.
Yeah, we've just entered the first vacuum. The scan actually we're only using the space beneath the feet level.
Like
this is like, let's say a machine from the future looking for signs of life.
We recorded under the bridge, so you don't notice these cars like really like the source, but it's like this movement passing, you know, this flow.
Comes this sort of sound and it starts rotating around you. Like in the beginning, it's falling down on us. It might be interesting to hear that.
I mean, that's the idea, is that we create a room, a space that everyone will reflect their own, or project their own ideas onto what it possibly could be.
We are kind of exploring different build-ups, transitions based on this idea of like swapping between those different spaces.
We think of the year 3000 as the future, but actually if you imagine that the moment of now actually has no definition of time. I mean, now, is it a day, is it a second, is it a quarter second? So actually the moment of now can also encompass the year 3000.
Stops when the sound stops.
Intentar encontrar la identidad sonora de Budapest, ¿no? Chava proponía ese lugar concreto en el que hay una fricción, y vamos a grabar también el Danubio dentro, sus tripas y cómo el sonido se mueve dentro de un líquido masivo como es ese gran río, porque también forma parte de ese lenguaje, ¿no?, de identidad.
Yeah, he says the Danube is very integral to Budapest, which is cool though, because he says you can hear everything from the Danube, like from within the Danube.
Can you hear the train through the underwater?
A lot, but it's like muffled.
Estamos construyendo como unos cantos en los que vienen de esas voces que se abstraen e intentan llamar a la naturaleza, ¿no?, en ese futuro.
Whether we talk about the present day or the future, one of the things that I imagine would remain are rituals. From very mundane to religious to fun, you know, even going to the bar, chants, hymns.
¿Quedará el sonido de la naturaleza o habrá desaparecido? Si queda, ¿dónde estará? Entonces estamos imaginando esa posible iglesia, espacio sagrado, en el que el único lugar donde se encuentran esos sonidos y la experiencia de la naturaleza es ahí. Si no vamos hacia la sanación, no va a haber ningún tipo de futuro.